I'm going to show you how to get $58.95 more cents from shoppers than Facebook and Twitter will drive to your website. Hi, I'm Samantha Cunningham Zawilinski, and this week on Hard Facts, we're continuing our Pinterest series. And we need to stop thinking about individuals on Pinterest as users and start thinking about them as shoppers. Because that statistic I just mentioned, $58.95 more cents is what shoppers from Pinterest are going to get you over those coming over from Facebook or Twitter alone. 93% of pinners on Pinterest are utilizing the platform specifically to plan a purchase. So we know where they're there because they're trying to buy something and figure out what is going to be best for them. And 50% of individuals that saw a promoted pin then went and purchased something after seeing that pin. So I don't know about you, but I would love to be part of that individual, that business base that is taking advantage of rich pins and promoted pins to be able to drive traffic and profit over to my business. So this week in Hard Facts, let's jump into it and talk about how we can use both promoted pins and rich pins to profit. So the first thing I want to talk about here are rich pins because they are going to be a little bit of an investment of your time, but not necessarily an investment of your money in terms of advertising dollars. And I love them. And I'm going to show you an example because you've probably seen them. If you're going over to Pinterest to plan dinner this week, you've likely experienced a rich pin. It is that expanded piece of content that you can see. For example, in this example here, you'll see the ingredients needed for this recipe. That is a rich pin. There are 4 types of rich pins you can take advantage of: articles, products, apps, and recipes. And in order to get rich pins over on your website and on Pinterest, you need to make sure you have metadata on your website. There are 2 ways that you can do this. You can utilize Open Graph or Schema, which will allow you to start this process. And to be able to show you exactly what you need to do, I'm going to switch over to a screen share here so we can walk through it together. I want to be able to show you how not only to set up a rich pin, but then also how to do promoted pins. So starting with rich pins, I jumped into Pinterest here, as you can see, and I'm actually just going to click on a recipe and see if it is or isn't a rich pin. So it is. What I can tell by looking here is that it's giving me the additional details about this recipe, specifically the ingredients, and then to find out the steps I have to click over to the website. This is a recipe rich pin. And I'm sure if I scroll down in suggested content, I'll find some other examples of rich pins here, like this recipe as well. So this is a great way to give individuals on Pinterest the information they're looking for, but still link them over to your website because I need to know how to make it. I just can't assume I'm going to understand how to do that. And this works for articles and other idea and content pieces as well. But how do we do it, right? So we talked about earlier how you need to add some code to your website, how you need to validate a rich pin, and then how you need to actually create them for your website. So let's jump into how to do that. And I'm going to point you to 2 great resources that you're going to want to use. The first one is actually in the developers corner of Pinterest. This is going to walk you through exactly how they're telling you you can get rich pins over on your website. And we already talked about needing that metadata earlier. So that is step 1. And the second step is applying for a rich pin. So you need to go through a validator or validation process. And this article right here, enabling rich pins on your website, is actually going to tell you exactly what that process is going to look like for you. And then you test it out. So when you test it out, you're essentially ensuring that the metadata on your website is working. You're also making sure that we're going to either pull the HTML tags, or if you have a Shopify website, there's a much simpler integration there to ensure that Pinterest will pull over your rich pin data. Then basically you apply and your rich pins will show up within an hour or so. So you can do that all through these links that I mentioned here. And I will include them in not only this video as you see on the screen, but they also will be included in the notes for this video, so you can easily access that information. And that is rich pins. So once you go through this process, you'll be able to create rich pins for your page, linking over to whatever desired content you want. Now, one thing to remember is when you put that metadata on your website, if you are not applying it to all pages at onset, you may need to go back and add it as time progresses and you add new content to your website. So if you're finding you can't create a rich pin for some reason, a lot of the time it's because that code is not on that page that you're now creating, so you're not able to create a rich pin. So with that, let me show you exactly what we can do with promoted pins and how we can go about creating those. There's actually 2 promoted pins on my page right now that I'm going to drive your attention to. And I love them because they represent 2 different types of ads you can show to your potential audience. So right here, the new millennial diet, you can take a quiz. So if I click this, this is going to drive me over to their website where I can then go and take that quiz. You'll also see that I'm able to save it. So if I would like to save this to a board, I do have that option to reference it in the future. And then the Stitch Fix ad down below, I am able to do the same thing as well. I can click it and it'll bring me over to their website, as well as I can save it to a board. Now in this instance, you can see that they think that it is shoe related, so it is pre-populating what board it feels it would be most relevant to on my Pinterest page. Now the user experience here is a little bit different than traditional Pinterest images, and what I mean by that is, for example, if I wanted to take a look at this door, it's actually going to expand that visual, that image to me, and then if I want to engage further, I click that and it brings me over to the website. So it eliminates that middle stage in the user experience. But I know what we want to do is create a promoted pin. So let's go ahead and jump into doing that. Now, I like going over to our overview section for ads because it allows me to pick my campaign goal very easily. And if you're like me, somebody who hasn't set up their billing profile, you're going to see that populate on the top here. I recommend it's really easy to set it up to start, so go ahead and set this up before you get into wanting to promote a pin, but you can also do this towards the end. It's about stage 5 or 6 in the process before you're able to have your ad go under review. So you can do it later if you want to just test out some different options at first. So you can create a couple of different campaigns: an awareness campaign, an engagement campaign, traffic, promoted app pins, and video awareness. Now, I love this because you're really able to differentiate the type of engagement you would like to get based on the type of content you're uploading. So for example, if I want somebody to download my app, I'm going to do a promoted app campaign. I could also do a traffic campaign where I drive people over to my website or a link to download the app as well. I can do a video awareness campaign. So if I want somebody to engage with this week's video of Hard Facts, I can do that. Or I can do an engagement or awareness pin if it is based on the facts that I'm telling you in this week's episode of Hard Facts. So pick what action you are going to desire the most from your audience and start with that. So let's just start with an awareness campaign today. And we'll jump in and create how to set this up. So you know what, I jumped in here. Let's say I decided, I really want to change my mind and I want to go to brand awareness. I can easily do that as well. So you can change your mind here for sure. And then they will give you some examples of what that means. So defining these areas for you. So we're going to need to create a campaign. I did previously set one up, so you'll see that I have a test section here and it will pre-fill any information from that campaign that I've previously added. But we're going to create a new one, and I'm going to title this one Hard Facts. And I know it's a challenge every week when I show you a screen share to make sure I can type correctly. Let's say I want to spend a daily limit of $10 and I want to spend $100. I'm going to make my campaign placement all recommended. This way, we can see how Pinterest shows my ads to different audiences across the search and the browse functions. Oh, we didn't select that we wanted to do traffic, so it's making me do it again. Okay, so as we jump over, it is going to give me 6 stages, as you can see up here, 6 steps that I need to fulfill. So I'm going to create an ad group name, and it's going to be Hard Facts, Facts. And I actually want to run this between specific ad dates. So I push new content every week. So every week I'm going to want to refresh my promoted pin just based on how I want to allocate my budget. Again, you may want to do it for an extended period of time because we know that it takes people multiple times to gain brand awareness, gain an impression, and take an action. So think about that as well. And I'm going to reiterate that I want my daily budget to be $10 here. Now, there's a couple of things we can do to further define our audience as we're seeing this here. And this is really going to be where thinking about what your goal of the campaign is, who you're trying to target, and the desired action of that campaign is going to be really important before you jump in here. And the reason I say that is because once you get in here, it's really easy to just get into a big black hole. But create a target audience. I love when we click on this because it gives me 4 options. So these are 4 options outside of just what the adding interests, keywords, and locations are going to be from Pinterest alone. So how can we use these? Well, you can retarget essentially, which is what visitors is. So showing your ads to visitors who have previously been to your website. or a list of customers. Let's say you're a business who is releasing a brand new product and you have a list of customers who have previously purchased from you. Using a list of customers or a custom audience known in many other platforms is going to be a great way to then target those potential buyers to visit your new product, to visit your website again. An engagement audience is individuals that have engaged with pins from your confirmed domain. So again, they've engaged with pins from your website in the past. So if you're very active on Pinterest, this is going to be a good way to move customers who have previously engaged with you to that next step, to a new product, to a new service, and an act-alike audience. So this is also referred to in other platforms as a look-alike audience. So it's individuals who have similar behaviors and patterns as well as interests as your current audience. So you can pick any of these, but I'm actually not going to pick from this list. I am going to pick from interests, I'm going to add some keywords, and then I'm going to narrow down my location. So I can pick relevant information that applies an interest that applies to my audience. So the great thing here is you can expand these sections and decide exactly what works for me. So I'm going to say maybe somebody in university or somebody in technology may be interested in this content. As I continue to scroll down as well, I'm going to think about, what other interests may somebody have? And so somebody also may be interested in products, depending on the type of business that you have. So if I have a art fact and I want to target individuals in arts and entertainment, I can do that as well. But what we're going to go do is we're actually going to focus specifically on keywords. I love this because you use keywords in so many other aspects of your advertising that I want to put in digital marketing, for example. And then it's going to show me how many searches are for similar content every single month. Now I want to add in digital marketing, Harry Potter funny. That's really interesting that came up, but it has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I'm actually going to have a little bit of an infographic for my image, so I'm going to target individuals searching for that. And then digital marketing tips. Then maybe I want to focus on some let's say, not entrepreneur, that really doesn't fit me right now. How about social media? So marketing strategies for social media, great. I want to target individuals who own businesses. And you know what? Maybe that's enough for me today. So I'm taking a look at my potential audience before I've even limited it by location. Now, I know for myself that I really only want to target individuals in my specific region today. I know my budget will go farther and I'll have the opportunity to potentially talk to individuals that are geographically located near me. So on locations, you're going to want to pick a specific location. And then since I want to target people in the US, I'm going to scroll down and then it's going to give me a number of cities. So easiest way is just to search, right? So this is our area for our office. But let's say I also want to target New York City. So I can target New York. Let's say I also want to target New Jersey. So that's somewhere I'd have to get a little bit more micro. So let's just keep those two targeted locations and see how we end up. Now, I am not going to be device specific here, but this is where if you are doing a mobile app download, you will want to be device specific. If you're talking about pregnancy facts and changes, you may want to pick a specific gender that you are going to target with that piece of content. Refining all of these pieces of your criteria are going to ensure that you're not wasting ad dollars. And then because I had set a daily budget and I picked the specific audience I would like to use and the keywords I would like to target, Pinterest is automatically going to tell me what my max CPC would be. And what it does is it does this based on previous search volume, competition, and cost. So it is calculating that for me. And then you'll see I can identify how broad of an audience that I will be searching, or excuse me, I will be showing my ad to. So now it's time to pick a pin. Now, when you pick a pin, you can pick from your most active, all your pins, and actually this is the one that I'm going to promote right here. Go ahead and pick that. You can give it a name. So I'm going to give it Pinterest Marketing. And that again is going to identify with my target audience. And then my destination URL for this is actually going to be the full length video of this content, but I'm using an infographic to get people over to that content. So you can link to YouTube, you can link to your website, and all of that will work perfectly. So now, because I didn't add my content earlier where I mentioned adding in your billing information and your specific details, it is going to prompt me to do this here. Then I've got to agree to terms and agreements, of course, and populate my billing information. Once I put this in, it's going to go and submit my promoted pin. It will go under review. A couple things to note is that once it goes under review, it is going to take about a day for Pinterest to go ahead and approve it. The other thing I'm going to tell you you'll be able to do is then see the analytics appear back under this ads overview section. One thing to know about Pinterest analytics is that they refresh every 24 hours. So if you see for the first 24 hours of your ad running 0 analytics, it is not as real time as other platforms. So you'll always be a day behind the reporting for your campaign. So keep that in mind and don't fret. If you get 48 hours into it and see 0 interaction, you know something happened along the way. But as a bonus, I want to show you a way you can find some information as we're thinking about who we're targeting, what pin boards we're using from our campaign, what interests and keywords we're going to use. Aside from tips we covered in previous episodes of Hard Facts, you can go over to your Pinterest analytics and there is audience insights. So when you head over here, you're going to be able to see information about your audiences. So this is showing me some of the types of categories that my boards are interacting with. And what I like is it's showing you the affinity, so the overall interest and engagement that those audiences are having compared to others. And then once you click on them, it gives you the interests and then how much of an interest those individuals have and how much it represents that percent of the audience, of the category. So let's use weddings. So wedding stationery, 33% of that category, guest outfits, 21%, wedding dresses, 20%, so on and so forth. But then it further breaks some information down by age, gender, location, and device, which are all great insights to use as you're creating more promoted pins, as you're creating shoppable pins, and you're creating new campaigns to use. So not only do you want to use what you've learned from your campaigns, but you also want to learn about what your Pinterest page is telling you at the get-go. That's it for this week's episode of Hard Facts, and I hope you're well on your way to your Pinterest journey. And as you've been on this Pinterest adventure, I hope you'll share or ask questions that you may be hitting along the way. So if you have a best practice tip or trick you picked up in your Pinterest journey, will you share it in the comments, because I would love to hear from you. And if you found this video useful, I hope you will like, comment, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel to stay up to date on all future episodes.